well. Welcome everybody. This is our Growth Hacking 101 webinar. This is just a session that I like to do every few months or so, just going over the details on what has been the learning process of growth hacking Slidebean, learning what metrics to track, what skills you need to have, and so on, to understand how to become a growth hacker yourself, and learn the process, boost your company, boost your growth. So we're simultaneously broadcasting this webinar on Crowdcast, which is our webinar platform, and we're doing that on Facebook Live as well. So hopefully nothing crashes. My computer fan is spinning very hard, but hopefully everything will work out. All right. So again, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining, and thanks for signing up for today's session. Just a quick note: Isa, part of our marketing team, she'll be monitoring both channels, both Facebook and Crowdcast, and she'll be answering your questions. Just in case I don't see it pop up. But again, I'll try to address everything. I think that we'll certainly have enough time. Okay, so I've prepared some slides for you. I'll be sharing. So this webinar will obviously be recorded, and I can share the presentation itself afterwards. So don't worry about writing down anything or taking down any links. And then I'll start by apologizing. This is not my regular voice. I have a bit of a cold, so I will probably lose my voice by the end of this webinar, but I hope that you guys can hear me okay. Quick note on, and just being extremely open about this. Why are we doing this? We like to share our experience growing Slidebean. We really do. But beyond that, this is obviously a growth hack. We found that doing these sort of sessions is incredibly useful to convert blog visitors into leads. And it's also great for re-engaging with users that have disconnected from the platform that we haven't seen in a while. So another growth hack to take some note from. Okay, so what the hell is growth hacking? This is a fairly new term. Depending on what country you're from, you might not have heard about the term growth hacker. But the idea of growth hacking is, and I think Wikipedia did the perfect definition, is a process of rapid experimentation across marketing channels and product development to identify the most effective, efficient ways to grow in a business. So again, rapid experimentation, very, very important, across a lot of different marketing channels, very, very important, and also getting involved with product. That's a skill set and a group of skill set and a set of things that you need to do. A skill set that few people have. A skill set that is very easy to learn, but it takes time, and then that's what's important. That's why growth hackers are really rare, simply because it's hard to find somebody with all those skills. But, again, I was not a growth hacker 2 years ago, and I learned all of this through this process, so it's obviously not impossible. Okay, so some examples of growth hacks, and just advertising to my favorite companies over here, and my favorite historical growth hacks. Airbnb, for example, when Airbnb launched, I'm sure all of you are familiar with Airbnb. They actually developed an algorithm that cross-posted every listing from Airbnb to Craigslist, and then that's how they got a lot of traction on people who were looking for short or long-term rentals. But Craigslist was the original platform. Then they kind of reverse engineered it to use it in their advantage. LinkedIn, their biggest growth hack, becoming the first Google result for your name. I'm sure that all of you have Googled your name in the past, and if you have a LinkedIn account, your LinkedIn profile is the first one. If you're not a celebrity, your LinkedIn page will be the first page. So it obviously talks about it refers to, well, you should be on Instagram if you want to be relevant online. And if you're just Googling somebody else who is also not a celebrity, LinkedIn became the default location to find information about them and the first result in Google. Hotmail, if you guys know the send with iPhone message, actually Hotmail invented this. The footer of all their emails, that this email was sent with Hotmail. And that gave them literally millions of users just by cross-referencing literally virality with every single email that got sent with Hotmail. Moving forward, Dropbox. If you guys ever use Dropbox, I'm not sure how it works now. I'm not a big fan of Dropbox business model. But anyway, like what they did originally was offer you extra storage as you shared your Dropbox code with other people. So you would get free storage in exchange for referrals. Fantastic way to grow organically and not have to worry about that. Sorry. Okay, there we go. And then PayPal. This is one of my favorites. You know, you all probably know PayPal. And then PayPal's popularity and growth came in connection with eBay. PayPal is the standard and most common way to pay when you're buying stuff on eBay. But that's not the way it started. Obviously, what PayPal did was actually spend their own money in buying stuff from eBay sellers using money from PayPal's company just to get them into the platform. Literally fake purchases in exchange for getting the people who are selling the items interested in using PayPal for their future purchases. So this mythical creature, this legendary being, does it exist? Let's go over again the stuff that you need to look into if you are to become a growth hacker. You need to know product and design. You need to be able to tell what a good landing page is or what a good ad is versus a bad ad in terms of call to action, colors, and so on. You need to code. You don't have to build a whole website by yourself. There are a lot of platforms that do that. But if you want to leverage those platforms correctly, you need to know the very basics of of coding. Nothing out of the blue. I think everybody in the 21st century should learn some coding one way or another. Well, also very important, ads. The most important marketing platforms in the world today are Facebook and Google. They're stealing marketing budget from all other media sources, from other online marketing sources, obviously from traditional media. If you don't know Facebook or Google, you're kind of lost in the digital world that we live today. You need to learn how to deal with a community. In Costa Rica, for example, you can find, and anyone can call themselves a community manager. But really getting in touch with your community just beyond just posting random stuff on Facebook, but understanding what they like, understanding what they engage with, understanding how to engage with them recurrently. That's super important. Why? Because both community and PR are the cheapest marketing or the cheapest outbound strategies that you can pursue as a growth hacker. Press is free, and it might get you thousands and thousands of views and a lot of exposure if you can leverage that. But getting press on startups, at least, it's not that easy. And then finally, and for me, the cornerstone of all this is metrics. You need to be able to deal with, you need to be able to keep very detailed spreadsheet data on what you can and want to share with. Sorry, excuse me, I got lost answering this question. Maria, this is from a crowdcast question. There's a tab on the lower sections that says presentation. You can tune into the slides there. It should be a lot easier. Sorry, going back to metrics. Yeah, metrics are fundamental because you want to understand which channels are driving the most valuable traffic, and you need to be able to track that very, very efficiently. All right, so moving forward. I'm taking this from a book called Traction. You can find that on Amazon, a fantastic book on marketing growth hacking. There are literally only 19 traction channels in the world. I'm going to go over the most traditional ones or the most obvious ones, and then the other ones that are not. Viral marketing, getting other people to do the marketing for you. Public relations, PR, as I was saying. Unconventional PR, I'm talking here about press stunts. I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Search engine marketing, this is Google AdWords for search, which is different from display ads, social and display ads, which are the ads that you would see on Facebook. To give you an idea of that, a search ad, when you go to Google and type digital camera, you've probably already decided to buy a digital camera. You're just looking for the best version or the best seller or the cheapest version or whatever you're looking for. But the decision to purchase a digital camera is made when you go to Google to search for that. If you advertise on Facebook, for example, people have not decided to purchase an item just yet. You're just advertising to them in their leisure procrastination time. So the stage in the funnel where they're in is a lot further away. The decision from seeing an ad on Facebook to actually purchasing that camera will take a long time versus someone who's already Googling those keywords has already moved on to the decision. So very, very important to keep track of both of those two. Offline ads, I'm talking traditional media here, I'm sorry, billboards, banners, stuff like that. SEO, search engine marketing. So you can, with AdWords, Google AdWords, you can pay to get to the top of a keyword's results. But that does not mean that people will click it. A lot of people have become ad blind. So that's where organic comes in. And most of the traffic that Google drives is organic. We'll look into it in more detail later. Content marketing, it relates a little bit to SEO, but not exclusively. This that we're doing right now is content marketing. We're generating content for you that's engaging, that you'll likely and hopefully share afterwards. Email marketing is related to that. Some of you that have subscribed to our blog have seen some of our email marketing campaigns. We're using that to reinforce our brand. And maybe you're not ready to sign up for our platform yet, but we're telling you bit by bit what we do and getting you to be familiar with our brand. Engineering is marketing. I love this example. There's this bank. If you look for loan calculator, there's this bank that came up with this very, very simple JavaScript app where you can type in whatever loan you want to request, your expected interest rate, and it'll tell you your lump sum payments, your monthly payments, and then how much you will end up paying. What if you make an additional payment to your loan? How will that affect your end loan? So this is a bank that developed this very simple app, but they're the first result on Google. So if you're looking for loans, you use their app, and then you've inevitably engaged with their brand and potentially contact them for that loan. That's just using programming as a way to attract users. Targeting blogs, it's not necessarily traditional PR. Bloggers have become more and more important in today's world. So you can find bloggers with literally thousands of followers that will, that might boost your brand and your product. So that's one thing you can do. Business development, more traditional. Finding other companies to partner with. Sales, traditional sales, which we also do incredibly. I kind of ran away from that for a long time, but we ended up doing some manual sales as well. Affiliate program. Some of you have heard of Slidebean's own affiliate program, where regular users get a benefit for referring other users. That's just affiliate. The classic, it's a little bit viral and a little bit affiliate. It's what Uber does when they give you a promo code. You give $10, you give away $10, everybody's happy, and Uber ends up making more money. It's very simple. Great. Leveraging existing platforms. The App Store is probably the best example here. If you publish an app in the App Store, it might get lost in the millions of apps available, but it might not. Apple might pick it up. So you're just using Apple's platform to just leverage so you're leveraging Apple's platform to get a boost on your downloads. Trade shows, very traditional events. We attend those as well, and we're still hacking our way to getting the most out of them. We've written a couple articles about it if you want to check them out. Offline event meetups. If you're in Costa Rica, we have a growth hacking meetup today. It's not a coincidence. We are focusing a lot in the people that follow growth hacking, simply because we've discovered that they are potential users for Slidebean. Speaking engagements, almost at the end of this list. Pretty much speaks for itself. Just talking at events, a lot of events now charge the speakers to talk rather than the attendees, which is an interesting model. And then finally, community building, and this is what we're doing with the people that are watching on Facebook. We're just making our Facebook community stronger, which is something that we did not focus on a lot in the past few months. All right. So this is the classic startup cycle. If you remember, if you're familiar with what goes on with startups, there's the lean startup methodology and how you approach product development. You build an MVP, or you build a basic product. You measure if people are interested in that product, and you learn, and you're going to look at that data, understand if it was valuable, if it was a good test or a bad test, and you try to do those iterations as fast as possible. When we first started working with Slidebean, we did a couple week iterations on features that we wanted to develop and understand how those affected the engagement of the users that were using the platform then. So the lean, using the startup way to marketing and to growth hacking is exactly what this is all about. You want to to advertise, you want to come up with a testing campaign. You want to execute it as fast as possible, measure the impact of that campaign, then learn from those numbers if that worked, if it didn't work, and then just repeat the process all over again. If that campaign worked, maybe try with a different budget, try it with a broader audience. So this is kind of how we approach growth hacking and dealing with this stuff. We do 1 week iterations. So anything that any marketing campaign, we try to develop it in under a week. If it takes longer than that, it's a bigger bet both in terms of budget and time for the team. We try to do around $500 iterations. So I believe that $500 is a reasonable budget for a test. But that will obviously vary industry to industry. For example, in our case, our acquisition cost for a customer ranges from $50 to $100. So if we were to spend, for example, only $100, then maybe it just wasn't enough to get that first customer, just, on basic statistics. So we want to, we aim at $500. If a $500 experiment gives us 1 customer, it's probably not a great experiment. No customers, obviously, the experiment is thrown away. That didn't work. If it gets us 2 to 5 customers, then it's kind of in the range of what we want to aim for to pay for a customer. So we might want to iterate on that campaign, filter the audience better, or change the design, maybe increase the click-through rate. But if we're getting $200 acquisitions, it's fairly simple to drop that cost down a little bit and then get those back into our sweet spot of customer acquisition costs. But if 500, at least for us, again, if 500 doesn't buy you a customer, then it's pretty much a dead or useless campaign. $500 is also a good number for Google AdWords. The reality is that most keywords that you'll find on Google AdWords, you'll have to pay $2 to $3 to $10 for a click. So if you think about it, $500 might as well be just 50 clicks. Then what can you learn from 50 clicks? Maybe it's too few. So obviously your market and your cost per click will define how big your experiments need to be, and you obviously need to have those $500 to spare. So we each month out of our marketing budget, we take a little bit, from $1,000 to $2,000 that we call experiment budget. We don't expect any returns. We don't project that budget will bring any paid users. We're just using it to cross or approve campaigns that we might run in the future. And then again, all of this works if you're extremely, extremely careful about tracking this correctly. And I'm going to move into a few tips, tools, and stuff that we use to track some of this stuff. So tracking is the backbone of growth hacking. If you don't do it correctly, you're kind of you're literally throwing money in the dark. So Google Analytics, obviously, if you run an online business or you have a website, if you don't have Google Analytics, stop now, go offline and go install it. It's free, and even though you won't understand all the metrics right away, the metrics will be there, and you can just go back 2 years later and look into data that you had no idea was there, or that you didn't know how to read at that point. Because metrics is also useful for tracking app performance. So if you have any type of app, even a website, or even a web app, you can track events and activity within the app with these metrics. It's a lot easier to use than Google Analytics. It's also useful to install it and track as much data as possible. And then, if you need it, go back and look into it. There are a lot of data points that we have no idea today that we'll eventually need, and they're being tracked with metrics, so we can just go back and look into that data. It's expensive though. That goes for like $200 a month or so for the basic plan. Spreadsheets, obviously, spreadsheets are free. You just have to build them yourself. Basic high school spreadsheet formulas. And if you didn't get that in high school, just Google it, and you can come up with a very decent spreadsheet. I published an article this week on the spreadsheet that made us profitable. This is our financial model spreadsheet, which we decided to share. It doesn't have all of our data, it has a couple sample data points, but you should find that useful as well on how detailed we are with that tracking. All right. So content marketing, for me, for content marketing, and this is actually email marketing, I mistyped that. But anyway, 2 platforms have really, really, really stood out for us. Number one is Autopilot. It's the platform that we're using for offline emails for people who don't have a Slidebean account yet. It's a fantastic tool for marketing. It's very reasonably priced. I think it starts at $50 a month for a decent number of subscribers. So, and you know, it really surprised me on their very visual approach to handling email campaigns. I don't think anybody's doing that. For us, it replaced MailChimp, and I think it's significantly better than what MailChimp used to do. And then for internal emails, for after the user signs up, we use Intercom. I've blogged a lot about Intercom. It's become the backbone of our customer success campaigns. We use it to send over 150 different emails based on user behavior. So if you logged in but didn't do something, or did do something, you might get an automatic email about that, or you might get an in-app message asking about that. We're able to control those emails very easily on Intercom without having to program anything. Okay, so just some stuff that this data and these tools might give you, might throw around. How much does anything cost? This is what you need to track. How much does one campaign or the other cost? That's super important. We found, for example, that the time it took our team members to post something on Facebook, and just because of the reach that Facebook post got, it cost us around a cent of a dollar per impression, whereas posting stuff on Instagram costs us around 6 cents of a dollar per impression. Now, you can obviously argue that Instagram impressions are very different from Facebook impressions, but are they 6 times more valuable? We don't know that, but probably not. They're probably 2x more valuable, not 6. That's super important. And we can only know that if we track even how long, how many hours our team took to come up with the Facebook campaign for this week and how many impressions that got. Obviously, what channel brings the best leads? For example, if you're running campaigns on advertising to your site, we run different audiences. We run Facebook campaigns with different audiences, and we look into the activity of each of those audiences. We found that onto for example, an audience of male versus female, we find that, for example, women stick a lot longer on the site or read the article more thoroughly. And if you're paying the same amount of money for each click, you obviously want to focus your money where it works best. But you can only track that if you divide your ads and if you have Google Analytics installed. And more important, and super important, how many of them actually pay? You can come up with audiences. With audiences and campaigns that drive a lot of traffic to your site. But if those users aren't engaging with your product and eventually paying to you, then it's actually pretty useless. And how many of them come back, or how many of them share, or how many of them become evangelists about your product? That's stuff that you can track. If you just have the right tools installed and keep a spreadsheet. Okay, so just following on what we advertised as the topic for this session, how to stay ahead of your competition. These are not sketchy, but spying tools that we've used in the past, and they're fantastic to understand what your competitors are doing and how to beat them at their game, if you will. First, SEMrush. Fantastic tool to find out what keywords a specific advertiser is targeting, or what your competition is for specific keywords. I believe it'll also give you kind of like a list of images. For example, if your competitor is doing display ads on Google, SEMrush might have come across those ads and it'll display them to you. You'll find out what the design is, what their call to actions are, and potentially what's working or not working for them. Ahrefs has become our favorite tool for tracking our organic results on Google, our backlinks, and just overall our SEO stuff, but also lets us measure our competitors' organic traffic and our competitors' organic rankings. It's another great tool for this is called Moz, M-O-Z. Moz, I think, was a little more expensive. By the way, the Moz's blog is fantastic. Probably everything we know about SEO, we learned it from them. But Ahrefs has a little more functions and it's a little cheaper. So that's what we ended up working with. And then another one called Mattermark. This is not a very popular or well-known tool. They're trying to become one. They very awkwardly track a lot of data points about a lot of companies. This is an example of one of our competitors' haiku deck on Watermark. Just some of the data that they give us. But for example, we based on Watermark data, we know that by 2014 their team was 17 people, and in the past couple of years they've just been firing a lot of people. So we can kind of conclude or assume maybe that the company is struggling. This is data that you can't really get anywhere. Yeah, they're getting the data from LinkedIn, but they can only get it if they monitor how many people are say that they're working on this company and how that number changes over time. So again, fantastic tool. There's a free trial. After that, it's $200, but we've kind of been hacking the free trial for a little bit. We don't need it that often. Okay, so moving into other useful tips here. Advertising and advanced advertising. You have no idea. People have no idea how much Facebook and Google know about you and how much of that data is being fed to advertisers for them to make more targeted and direct ads. For example, you can, I don't know if you knew this, but you can target Facebook ads by household income. For example, in Slidebean, we know that household incomes in the US above $8,000 a month are kind of our ideal customers. They read more of our content, they engage more with it. This probably reflects a little bit of living costs. Most of our customers are in California and New York, which are very expensive cities. But that data is really, really awkward, but useful for you. Target by marital status. You can for example, if you have a wedding company, wedding planning company, you can just target everybody who's engaged on Facebook. People are just providing this data to Facebook. Facebook is just using it to make money, but it's good and bad at the same time. You can also upload a list of users or upload a subscriber list, and Facebook will run their algorithm through that data. They'll match those emails with the emails that people have registered on the platform, and will give you all sorts of data about this. So you need your email list to be, I think, 100 or 1,000 emails or longer. But once you upload that, it'll tell you what's the average household income. Are most of your users college graduates or still in high schools, all that stuff. Really creepy, but great. So you guys probably have heard about retargeting. If you've been to our website, you've probably been retargeted by our campaigns. But yeah, you can target people who visit your website or who visit some websites and not others. So for example, you can create a campaign for people that visited your cart but didn't visit your checkout page. So you know that those are people who were just almost ready to buy but didn't. So you can even spend some extra budget in those users too, because you know that they're very, very close to closing the sales funnel. And you can also target people who viewed your video. This is something to do for YouTube, not for Facebook yet, I believe, but I'm sure they'll soon. Okay, so a few more tips on ads, just stuff that we've learned so far. Instagram ads are very cheap. You should try it before it's too late. They will get more expensive, just like it happened for Facebook ads. But they're really cheap. You can get really cheap impressions. You can't really use Instagram to get people out of Instagram because it's just too, I feel, and kind of like the data says that, it's just too rough. Like if you're just browsing nice pictures on Instagram and you see an ad, you're not gonna go out of Instagram and go browse a whole new website. You're like in your free time. So they're not great for clicks, but they're great for brand awareness. At least that's what we found. Facebook now lets you advertise to their audience network. So these are ads that don't show up on Facebook or on the sidebar or the newsfeed or Instagram, but they show up on external websites. I found that those ads are really, really sucky. We ran a few $100s on some of those ads, and a lot of the clicks were kind of fake clicks that got to the website but bounced after a second or something. So I'm assuming that a lot of these advertisers are putting these ads on places where they're accidental clicks, which sucks. Google Display, it's great. A lot of websites have Google Display ads. They're great for retargeting, not necessarily great for new audiences because it's just too broad, too many people. Few people click on Google Display ads unless it's a very targeted campaign. But you can also leverage that. Remember, Google will charge you for click. So if people don't click, you get free exposure, which is great. And video seems to be a very popular thing today. You've all Probably found yourselves wasting a lot of time watching Facebook videos. Yeah, make sure you add subtitles, because that's, that's just basics today. Most people watch Facebook videos muted, so that's, that's an extra reason to add subtitles to them. Be careful. Facebook has been known for accidentally reporting wrong data about their video campaigns. So, just don't blindly trust. Facebook considers a 3-second view a view. I don't really believe that's a view. I believe the range is more around the 10-second mark. But again, just be careful with Facebook metrics. Video is great. The only problem with video is that it's just so expensive to produce high quality content. All right, PR press. I crossed PR because it's, at least for startups and even for growth hacking, PR, like the traditional concept of PR, is not good. So I want to call this press. Press is free, and that's great. If you can kind of navigate your networks and balance your contacts correctly, you can really get free press. People publishing about your product because they like it and because they believe in what you're doing, or because you're cool. But you want to start small, so you want to work. You want to get to know these bloggers. Get to know people. Sometimes you have to, invite them for a beer, or come up with some random excuse, or even hear some of their sales pitches. But as long as you develop that relationship, that's something that you can eventually leverage. Excuse me, in the future. As mentioned, get to know people, and build a name for yourself as well. As a PR person. Attend events. It doesn't matter if you're not building something now. Those people that you meet, they'll remember you. And it's so much easier to email somebody that you met, even if you met them briefly, than to just cold email somebody. It's just so hard to get a reply from a cold email, especially from a reporter. And then for big press, you need to have big news. I'm talking the TechCrunch, the Next Web, Business Insider, those sort of events. We've been featured in all of those, but it hasn't been easy at all. So you kind of have to draw a line. There's the small press that you can get to on a regular basis, and you can even have somebody on your team who's recurrently emailing and getting in touch with small bloggers. But for big press, if you really want to get your company out there, you need to come up with a stunt, or at least a big piece of news that they can't resist writing about. Put yourselves in their position. They also have bosses, and they're measured by how much engagement and how much traffic their articles brought. If your news aren't interesting, they're not nobody's gonna read them, and their metrics aren't gonna be well. They have people to answer to as well. So what am I saying with big stunts? This is what we did to get featured on TechCrunch when we launched Slidebean. We went to a lot of landmarks around the world, not exclusively for this. It was kind of a vacation, but anyway, with this just cardboard sign, the text in the sign is Photoshop. We didn't even know who we were going to target, but we actually took the picture there. And then we just tweeted or sent these photos over Instagram to these reporters, and it's so much easy. It's so much more relevant to them to get a photo of somebody who actually did an effort to get in touch with them, or what they're doing. Sorry, what they're doing, or what they write about. It's just such a different approach. This is another example, not ours, but a good friend of mine, Pete. He went to Y Combinator demo day, and then he left parking tickets like this one here. It says violation. Parking tickets like this to all the cars that attended the Y Combinator demo day. Who are they? Investors, obviously. But he got a huge amount of press about it. Just being clever and making copies. It's extremely easy. This is another a few growth hacks here. First, as you can see here, if you Google Slidebean, you get our ad, and you also get our organic results. That's very intentional. We want to make sure that everybody who's browsing Slidebean clicks on our page and not on anybody else's. But you can also advertise to your competitors' keywords, and that's just a fantastic way to get exposure. If if people are Googling, I don't know, I'll give our example, Haiku Deck, they're obviously looking for a presentation software that's not PowerPoint, that's online, and then why not get our brand in front of them? Conversion rates are usually low, but they are great for brand exposure. Another growth hack that you can see here is this. You can see if you look at our Google location for Slidebean, the corporate office photo is this huge building. That's not true. We don't own such a large building. But this comes from an April Fool's campaign we did last year. A bit controversial, but overall it went pretty well. We announced that we had purchased this building in Costa Rica, and then a newspaper caught the story, wrote about it. This was an April Fool's joke on April Fool's, so they had to withdraw their publication and so on. And the word of mouth that we got around that was fantastic. A little risky again. Some people were a little upset that we joked about it, but in the end, I think the result was more positive than negative. And our Google photo for our office is that. Anyway, okay. So I'll go into a quick case study. We still have a few minutes left on just one of the hacks that has been the most useful for us. It takes a little bit of all the tactics and tools that I've mentioned in the past. Through the past half an hour. So you should find it pretty useful. So this is we're going back to, as you can see here, this is January. Sorry, this is January for start of 2015. These were our first Google AdWords campaign ever. And what we were doing here was just finding keywords that brought us high quality traffic for people who were willing to pay for the product. And we discovered that pitch deck, people looking for the word pitch deck, this group had great conversions. This is Google AdWords data. You can see here we had 42 conversions to sign up. That's $9 per sign up, which for us it's a great number because we can convert a lot of them into a paid account. Lots of traffic, as you can see here, 63,000 impressions for these keywords. They're all related to pitches and starter pitches and so on. So again, a fantastic group. So how do just telling you how did we find those keywords? Just by tracking. We went all out for the first month. We build campaigns targeting all sorts of keywords. People that would potentially need to build a presentation, and then we found the ones that converted the best and started focusing on the pitch deck and related searches was one of them. So a little on the data, a little bit of the data I just mentioned. These were $10 signups. We were getting paid users for $100 or less. And at that point, our only plan on Slidebean was a yearly plan that was $120. So we would make at least a $20 profit on any user that would come through AdWords, which is great. This is our first month with the campaign, and we're already getting profitable economics on customer acquisition. What's the problem here? The problem here is that if you look at this data, 64,000 almost 64,000 clicks came through these searches, but we were only getting clicks from 2% of them. Why? Because of what I mentioned. People are ad blind. If there's just one ad, Google. They'll see that it's an ad on Google, and they'll probably skip it and move to the next section. This is 2015, so at this point, ads on Google were kind of highlighted with this yellow box. They're not anymore. So Google is obviously getting smarter at getting people to not realize that they're clicking on an ad. But anyway, it's not the full organic traffic. So what do? How do we get? We know that these 64,000 people are potential customers, and then they'll convert very well. How do we get more? How do we get in front of more of them? So the first thing we did was expand our ads to other pages. So if you Google pitch deck, and this is the way it works today, at least in most countries, not everywhere, but you can see that you still get Slidebean's ad first. Then you get two other ads that's for our website called pitchdecktemplate.com. pitchdeckexamples.com. Well, so happens that we own both of those websites. They're not associated with Slidebean in terms of branding, but they are our sites, and whoever goes to those websites, and they're a real website. Pitchdeckexamples.com. It's a blog with hundreds of pitch deck examples that you can browse around. But in the end, there's a call to action that brings you back to the Slidebean website. So what do we get? For each search, when we used to get 2% click-through rate. Now we got like 10% click-through rate on the ads themselves. And this is, you can flip this switch in a day. You just need to come up with another website and another AdWords campaign. You don't need to work a lot to get there. Okay. And then this is where the question arose about whether to focus on SEO or not. Why? Because SEO is very expensive, very, very expensive. getting to rank number one on a Google result is very hard, and it'll take a long time. So it's not a short-term investment. It'll take a few months, and months means money. So you really need to evaluate whether this is the route you want to go. Is the traffic worth it? That's the one thing we knew then. We know that searches for pitch deck were valuable to us, but we also need to find out how the competition looked and whether the website could handle this SEO campaign. Also, by the traffic worth it, I mean the amount of searches. If we're looking at 64,000 searches a month, that is a lot of people. It's worth to invest money into getting 80 or 90% of that traffic. It's not that much worth it if you have 200 or 300 or 500 searches a month. It doesn't account for the huge effort that the huge endeavor that SEO is going to be. So this is one of the other tools that I mentioned. This is called Ahrefs. It's the tool that we use for SEO. They have this plugin that you can install on Google Chrome, and what it'll do is it'll tell you a few data points about the competitive results on Google. It'll tell you the domain rating, which is a number they calculate themselves, but it talks about how many quality backlinks they have, how popular they are, how old that domain is. So look at that domain rating. So we have 53, 45. We have a 77-year Kickstarter that's obviously kicking everybody's ass. 62, and this is us 54. This is us now, but when we started this, our domain rating was a lot lower. But domain ratings of 50-ish are very competable. You can easily, not easily, but you can with reasonable effort and a reasonable team compete there and get to rank in those keywords. So that's one thing we did with Ahrefs. Ahrefs also can tell you what's the estimate traffic that the first result is getting. So that tells you how much traffic you will get if you ever or when you ever get to that position. So that's another check. How's your competition? Is it worth it? Can you really compete with your team size and your power to develop content? Can you compete with that? And then finally, can your website handle it? And I'm not associated with Squarespace. I am just a big fan, and we at Slidebean, we're all big fans of Squarespace. Our landing page and our blog are hosted on Squarespace, and we found that a fantastic tool. With Squarespace, we've been able to get our website to rank in Google's front page for most of the keywords we'd focus on. So Squarespace is a simple content management platform that lets you just add content to your website and kind of designs it for you. It's a familiar story if you know what we at Slidebean do. But it's great. And then make sure that your website is optimized to handle first the traffic, yes, but more so the SEO. Make sure that you have a sitemap, that your links are good, that your website is fast, all that stuff. Squarespace takes care of it for you. But if you're hosting your marketing site on your own servers and you built it yourself, make sure that it's good code. All right. So almost wrapping up here, and we'll open it up for questions. So SEO and ranking in these tools took us 9 months. We invested around $70,000 in content marketing. That includes the cost of our team. We also discovered that by driving paid traffic to our site, we increased our Google rankings. Why? Because Google's search rankings are based on website traffic and on website engagement and on website bounce rate. So if, for example, you have a page that thousands and thousands of people visit, Google counts for that. Obviously, if you have Google Analytics installed on your site, Google takes that into account to provide that website with a better organic ranking. So we discovered that for every 3,000 clicks, engaged clicks, people that read through the content, that stuck around, that browsed the rest of the site, for every 3,000 clicks that we drove to the site, we would get a bump of one or two positions in Google's ranking, and that's how we hacked our way into the first page faster than it would have taken if we were just all organic. But you have to pay for that again, and most of that $70,000 budget went to Facebook paid advertising to get to that. All right, so and this is where it's important, the revenue to date. So that content marketing campaign has generated over $250,000 worth of subscription revenue for us. So it's driven so many paid customers into our platform. It probably drove you into our platform if your first encounter with Slidebean was through one of our articles online. So you can get the full story on this. This is a full article I wrote on how we did that. You know, a lot of technical details, what I mentioned on the number of clicks that we paid to, how to handle the content writing. You know, someone in your team needs to does this, and how to eventually delegate those tasks. Obviously, one person cannot handle all of this. You know, the only reason why we were able to do it is because our team is extremely efficient at, you know, kind of delegating these tasks and owning them, and, you know, making sure everything goes on in time. So in this article, I also mentioned a little bit of how we expanded that team. You know, what was the first hire that we needed, and so on. All right. So I'm gonna wrap the webinar, at least my talking part of the webinar here. Our growth hacking blog is at slidebean.com/online-marketing. And I leave my Twitter handles if you want to ask me anything afterwards. And I will take it up to questions. I'm looking into Crowdcast and Facebook questions as well, Facebook comments. All right. So okay. So I'll start answering this for Hazaz. Content marketing for a travel site. So travel is very competitive, obviously. Sorry, let me just go back to this. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, travel is very competitive. Obviously, you're gonna deal with a lot of different competitors than we had on SEO. What I would do is try to focus first on AdWords. Make sure that people are actually converting from the keywords that you're focusing on. And after you confirm that, start focusing on SEO. Your AdWords clicks might not be very profitable. For example, you might end up paying more for a paid user than what that user generates. But you got to kind of measure that number. Is that number too high? Can you bring that down if you optimize the campaign? That's the stuff that you want to track with AdWords. Also, and this is something that worked for us in the past, we even modeled our pricing based on our acquisition costs. If you remember this campaign I mentioned where we paid $100 to bring a user and our revenue was 120. When we started the campaign, our plan was $50 a year. But we just realized that the math wouldn't work. There was no way we could drop our acquisition costs to that point. So we just increased the pricing and realized incredibly that price sensitivity was not as big as we thought. A similar percentage of users that were willing to pay the $50 price were willing to go for the $100 price, which was actually surprising. Okay. So Marcelo, I'm not sure what you mean with marketing. If you have a specific question, please add it in a question form. All right. What kind of ad stunts have you applied? I think that those, probably my favorite and the one I like to brag about the most is that kind of multiplying both our organic results and our search results in Google. If you buy today, if you Google pitch deck, you will likely see the 3 ads of the 3 websites that we created, plus 1, 2, or 3 organic results on the organic section. So, out of that 64,000 searches a month, we are able to attract more than 50% of them right now. How effective has your webinar series helped in engaging and networking for your company thus far? I think it's pretty good. I think that one core differentiator for our content marketing in general has been transparency. We're not 100% transparent. We don't make our revenue data public, but we're willing to talk about the goods and bads, stuff that worked and didn't. Once we know a campaign was successful, we can go back and look into what worked and kind of leverage that. So it's the transparency part of it, and webinars are just another way to engage with people. Probably much more relevant than just an article because you can see my face and hear my voice. I don't know. It's worked pretty good. For Facebook and its strategies, I think that if you're looking into Facebook marketing strategies, what you want to remember is the moment of intent. What I was talking about. If you Google digital camera, you're ready to purchase one. But if you're on Facebook, you're not ready to purchase anything. You're just hanging around. So make sure that your ads really reflect that. We haven't seen any success with driving people from Facebook directly to buy. It's just too rough of a start. Like it's too much of an ask to get them to stop procrastinating and go and do the action that your ad is intending them to. But Facebook is fantastic for content marketing, fantastic for virality and organic. I'm even a much bigger fan of Facebook video than YouTube, even though and that's obviously why we're broadcasting this on Facebook and YouTube. All right, so a question from Mirko. Hacking growth of both consumer and supplier sides for online marketplaces. So online marketplaces work a little different. Again, my idea with growth hacking is not to, we obviously don't have an online marketplace, but it's the method that I want you guys to kind of understand. The quick iterations, the tests, run a test for $500, see if it worked, and go back and do it again. Like that's the stuff that I kind of wanted to focus on. For online marketplaces, I think the biggest ideas that I know and that I know that friends of mine have used. Retargeting, number one, targeting people who were almost at the purchase point with, for example, with retargeting and people who visit your cart but didn't complete the purchase. Also, we learned that for the sign-up process, for example, it's very useful to ask for some data first and some data later. I'll give you an example with a credit card form. If you ask for the user's email and phone number first, they'll fill in that information. They might click next, and then they go to the card form. And they might, what if they leave there? You already have their phone number and their emails, and you can just kind of call them and close that sale. One of my favorite companies called Headouts, their fellow company in 500 Starters, they did exactly that. They gathered the phone number first before putting them through the credit card form. A lot of people churned in the credit card form, but they had a team that just called those people on the spot. Hey, like, you didn't complete a purchase, your tickets are on hold. Can you, do you need any help? And they would close like 50% of those calls. It's amazing. So that's just stuff that you can do. Test and iterate. Okay, so how do you gauge track quality feedback for paying customers? That's a great question, and we haven't been so efficient at this lately. We've made some improvements. Yeah, you need to find a way to put some numbers into it. Yeah, kind of like quantitative data is just it's just easier to read. For example, if you I talk about this with our customer success team all the time. They might come up with say, hey, a lot of users are complaining that they can't do this, or a lot of users are complaining that they need this feature. How many users is that? 2, 3 in a week, 5 in a week? How many more from last week? Like how, and that really defines a set of urgency on how we deploy and develop the stuff that we want to integrate. So that's very, very important to kind of prioritize your tasks. For a long time on Slidebean, we only focused on we focused on all users, the ones that were paying and the ones that were not paying. And then we realized that we were wasting so much time with the non-paying users, developing features for them or making the app work for them, and they were really never going to become customers. So just working with your paid users is just the easiest way to prioritize. All right, so Eugene, yeah, I'll obviously send invites, and we'll keep you posted about our next webinar, which will also be along the lines of marketing. If you say, another question here, if you say Facebook is not good for conversion, what's our only hope? That's fine. Yeah, Facebook's not the only platform. I think, Facebook and Google are the giants, and for me, if you can't get the metrics to work on either of them, then you really should go and rethink your business model, because that, if you live on, at least on our side of the world, 99% of the people that would buy any product are on Facebook, on Google. So I don't know, maybe I'm exaggerating there, but yeah, you have to make that work for either of them, because it's an easy way to scale. If you can't handle that, you're in a bit of a struggle. Again, what I meant with Google, Facebook not being good for conversion is you have to understand what people are doing on Facebook, and you have to be reasonable about not dragging them out of their procrastination into an activity. For our case, it's a productivity app. So if you're on Facebook, you're probably wasting your time, and you're not going to go and sign up for a new product and start working. Like that's not what you do when you're on Facebook. So it depends. It depends on what your company does, and trying to understand what they do on Facebook. For example, in our case, we discovered that posting this type of content, webinars, our blog content, growth hacking, marketing, works great because people on Facebook are willing to take some of their time to go to this other website and read some of this content, even if it's a fast read. But we found Facebook is great for content, and it's great for video as well. Again, it's not great for getting people to take an aggressive or a long-term action. All right, so that I think covers the questions that we got on Crowdcast. I am looking into Facebook, but I don't see any comments, so I'm assuming that it was all cleared up, or not a lot of people were watching. Let's see. Okay, so thanks a lot for joining our webinar today, guys. For everybody that's signed up to our Crowdcast session, I'll make sure I'll shoot an email and follow up, and let you know about what's going on in the next few weeks in terms of webinars. Once again, if you're in Costa Rica, we have a growth hacking meetup today. It's a very informal session. There will be beer, and there will just be a bunch of growth hackers kind of exchanging ideas, and that's kind of the format that we're trying to bring to Costa Rica. From what we learned while we were in Silicon Valley. So everybody, thanks a lot for joining, and thanks for your time. Bye bye.